Gucci Mane exposed Pooh Shiesty's crash dummy, the young man who held him at gunpoint inside a Dallas recording studio. And what came out of that exposure is bigger than anyone expected, because this was not just some name getting thrown around. This was a young associate who volunteered for the operation, showed up armed, and took position inside that room while his boss forced a contract release at gunpoint. Now he is sitting in federal detention, and the case built around him is deep. There is a group chat. There is video from inside that studio. There is a digital trail, a physical trail, and a financial trail. And every single one of them points back to the same person. The full story of who he is, how he got there, and what was found along the way is something that goes way beyond the headlines. Stay locked in, because we are about to get into all of it. Yo, what's good, fam? Today we are getting into one of the wildest stories to come out of the rap game in a long time. Gucci Mane, Pooh Shiesty, a Dallas recording studio, an armed takeover, and right in the middle of all of it, a young man from Memphis who the streets know as Baby Slime, Pooh Shiesty's top shooter and crash dummy, who is now sitting in federal custody with a mountain of evidence stacked against him. We are going to break down who he is, what he allegedly did, how investigators built their case, and why his story is bigger than just a rap beef. Let's get into it. Corday Johnson, that is the government name. But in the streets, and in Pooh Shiesty's circle specifically, this man goes by Baby Slime, and if you have been following Pooh Shiesty's career at all, you already know what Baby Slime represents. He is known as Pooh Shiesty's top shooter, the crash dummy, the one who goes wherever Pooh needs him to go and does whatever Pooh needs done. No questions asked. That is the reputation that has followed his name through Memphis and into every circle connected to Pooh Shiesty. Court documents identify him as a documented member of the Gray Street Crips and KSBG gang out of Memphis. That is the background. That is who we are talking about. And when Pooh Shiesty put a message into a group chat asking for people to come to Dallas, Baby Slime was the first person to respond. Not the second, not somewhere down the list. The first. That single decision, answering that message before anyone else in that chat, is now sitting at the center of a federal kidnapping and robbery case. And the evidence that investigators say they built around him from that moment forward is what this entire story is about. Now here is where things really start, because none of this began inside that Dallas studio. It began in a group chat on Signal, the encrypted messaging application. And here is the detail that made people stop scrolling when this story first broke wide open. Federal investigators unsealed text messages that were extracted directly from Pooh Shiesty's phone. And when they did, they revealed something that nobody saw coming. Pooh Shiesty was operating in that group chat under the contact alias Michael Myers. That name alone tells you everything you need to know about the mindset going into this operation. He was not texting as himself. He was texting as Michael Myers, the masked silent killer from the horror films. And the message he sent into that chat was just as cold. According to court documents, he wrote, "I need 6 30s for Saturday, pulling up on WAP, plus 2 drivers. That is it. 6 certified members, 2 drivers, pulling up on WAP." That is Gucci Mane's well-known street nickname going back to his earliest days in the game. No ambiguity, no code language for anyone paying attention. A direct recruitment message for an armed operation against one of the most recognized figures in Southern rap, sent through an encrypted app under a serial killer's alias. And when that message hit the group, Baby Slime, Pooh Shiesty's crash dummy, his top shooter, was the very first person to respond. Let that land for a second. The message goes out to the whole group. 6 certified members needed, 2 drivers. We are pulling up on WAP in Dallas. And before anyone else in that chat could even process what was being asked, Baby Slime already had his hand up. Federal court filings described his response using a specific phrase. They noted that Baby Slime exhibited a personality trait of eagerness. The government put that in writing. Eagerness, not reluctance, not hesitation. He saw the Michael Myers message, understood exactly what it meant, and jumped at it before everybody else. In a federal conspiracy case, that detail carries enormous weight. Being the first person to respond to what prosecutors call a criminal recruitment message is direct evidence of willingness, knowledge, and intent. It does not place him at the end of the chain or somewhere in the middle. It places him at the very beginning. He was not pulled in against his will. He was not an afterthought. He raised his hand first, and he made the trip. From there, the crew made the journey from Memphis to Dallas. Gucci Mane and his team had no idea what was waiting for them. As far as Gucci Mane knew, he was going to a recording studio to have a straightforward business conversation with Pooh Shiesty about the terms of his recording deal at 1017 Records. Pooh Shiesty had been unhappy with that arrangement for some time. Disputes over control of his music, royalties, and the broader terms of the contract had been building behind the scenes even as his profile in the rap world continued to grow. He had come home from a federal prison bid with momentum, with a fan base waiting for him, and with frustrations about his label situation that he apparently decided were not going to be resolved the slow way. Rather than taking those grievances to attorneys and resolving it through the legal channels that exist for exactly this kind of dispute, prosecutors alleged that Pooh Shiesty organized a 9-man armed operation to handle it his own way. And when Gucci Mane and his people walked into that studio on January 10th, 2026, they walked into a trap. According to court filings, once everyone was inside, Pooh Shiesty pulled out paperwork, a contract termination document, and demanded that Gucci Mane sign it on the spot. When Gucci Mane refused, the room changed immediately. Co-defendant Big 30, whose legal name is Rodney Wright Jr., retrieved a bag that contained an AK-style pistol and handed it directly to Pooh Shiesty. At the same time, the rest of the crew produced their own firearms and moved to lock the room down. One victim was pushed onto a couch. Another was grabbed from behind and choked to the point of nearly losing consciousness. Nobody was walking out of that room until Pooh Shiesty was satisfied with what he had in his hands. And right in the middle of all of it, according to prosecutors and 5 cooperating victims and witnesses, was Baby Slime, holding everyone in that soundproof room at gunpoint. That is where Baby Slime's specific role becomes the foundation of the prosecution's case against him. Those 5 cooperating witnesses formally identified him as one of the active gunmen inside that room, not just present in the building, but actively blocking the doors and keeping the victims under armed control, while Pooh Shiesty forced the contract signing. He was not standing in a hallway. He was not waiting outside. He was inside that soundproof room with a weapon, making sure nobody could resist and nobody could leave. 5 separate people put him there. That level of witness corroboration alone is serious. But the government did not stop at eyewitness accounts, because Big 30 was recording the whole thing on his cell phone. Prosecutors recovered that footage, and what they say it shows is about as direct as evidence gets. The video allegedly captures Baby Slime inside that soundproof room holding an AK-47 style rifle pointed directly at Gucci Mane. Not nearby, not in the general direction of the room, pointed directly at him, holding him under duress while Pooh Shiesty forced the contract release. Think about what that means in a courtroom. A witness can be challenged on memory, bias, and perception. But video does not get nervous on the stand. Video does not contradict itself under cross-examination. If that footage shows what prosecutors say it shows, it does not just support the witness identifications. It potentially becomes the single most powerful piece of evidence in the entire case against him. According to prosecutors, the crew left that studio with everything they could carry. The total alleged take was approximately $450,000 worth of property and cash. Gucci Mane lost his wedding ring, his watch, his earrings, and cash. The other victims were robbed of Rolex watches, jewelry, a Louis Vuitton bag, and additional valuables. But here's where some of these guys made their situation dramatically worse. After allegedly robbing one of the most recognizable figures in rap, some crew members went straight to Instagram and posted photos and videos of themselves wearing and flexing what investigators believe was stolen jewelry, including a distinctive 1017 chain and a Rolex that could be tied back to Gucci Mane. Investigators used those exact posts to match serial numbers and unique custom designs on the stolen items back to the victims. You cannot make this up. The robbery was allegedly documented on video inside the studio, and then some of the alleged participants went ahead and documented the aftermath themselves on their own pages. Then came the $5,000 text, and this one broke the internet when it came out. Federal agents recovered a message from a co-defendant's phone that revealed exactly what each shooter was paid for their role in the operation. And the message did not just share the number, it mocked them for accepting it. The text read, "Stupid B-word, N-word. Your whole crew full of lames, N-word paid y'all $5K a piece for a 15 mil hit. Y'all some suckers. $5,000 each, for a coordinated armed operation against a man with a $15 million music catalog. Baby Slime and every person in that crew allegedly risked decades in federal prison, potentially life, for $5,000 a person. That message spread everywhere the moment it surfaced, and the reaction was the same across the board. People could not believe it. But beyond the viral moment, that text is a piece of federal evidence that prosecutors say connects each alleged participant to the financial structure of the operation and supports the government's conspiracy argument directly. Now let's talk about what Baby Slime did after he got back to Memphis, because the evidence trail did not end when the crew left Dallas. Days after the robbery, Baby Slime allegedly took photos on his phone of a wooden foregrip belonging to a Draco AK-47 pistol, the same style of weapon used inside that studio. Then, on January 21st, 2026, he went on Instagram Live and posted himself holding a Glock handgun fitted with an illegal switch, a machine gun conversion device that makes a semi-automatic fire automatically. That is a separate federal firearm violation layered on top of everything else already in the indictment. And investigators also found photos on his phone of him wearing the exact black ski mask that matched the one worn during the robbery. That combination, the Draco foregrip, the modified Glock on Instagram Live, the ski mask photos, gives prosecutors a trail of firearm-related evidence that connects his behavior before, during, and after the alleged studio operation into a single continuous picture. Then February 18th, 2026 arrived. Memphis law enforcement hit a trap house on Bermuda Run and arrested Baby Slime alongside 5 other confirmed gang members. The search of that residence turned up 2 rifles, 2 handguns, over 7 pounds of marijuana, alprazolam pills, a digital scale, and bulletproof vests. And Baby Slime himself was found in a bedroom with $530 in cash. $530. The man who allegedly helped execute a $450,000 robbery, who allegedly held Gucci Mane at gunpoint with an AK-47 while the crew cleaned out the room, was sitting in a Memphis trap house with $530 on him. That number tells you exactly what happened to the money and exactly how the situation played out for the people who took on the most risk. Then, on April 1st, 2026, the FBI came for him. Agents moved in to execute the federal arrest, and Baby Slime allegedly barricaded himself inside the residence and refused to surrender. The standoff ended when agents deployed a tactical drone to locate him inside the structure, forcing him out. That alleged decision to barricade against a federal arrest team became part of the government's argument at the subsequent bail hearing, used to establish that he was an extreme danger to the community and a serious flight risk. His defense put together a plan, proposing he be released into the custody of his grandparents as third-party custodians. The federal judge rejected the motion and ruled that he remain held without bond. He is still in federal custody today, sitting alongside Pooh Shiesty with no release in sight. Take a step back and look at what the government has assembled here. The Signal group chat places Baby Slime at the very start of the planning. His immediate response, the eagerness to court filing name directly, establishes his intent before anyone even left Memphis. The cell phone footage from inside the studio allegedly shows the weapon in his hands pointed at the victim. 5 cooperating witnesses place him in the center of that room as an active gunman. The ski mask photos, the Draco foregrip pictures, and the Instagram Live with the illegal switch connect him to the tools of the operation before and after the fact. The trap house raid adds a layer of additional state-level charges, and the April barricade gives prosecutors an argument about danger and flight risk that the judge apparently found compelling enough to keep him locked up without bond. This is not a one-threat case. Every category of evidence the government built points back to the same person. Let's also talk about what the street label crash dummy actually means in the context of this case, because it is more than just an internet nickname. In the culture, a crash dummy is someone who absorbs the risk so that the person above them does not have to. Someone who goes first, who takes the worst position in any situation, who is relied upon to do what others will not. That is the title Baby Slime carried in Pooh Shiesty's circle, and if prosecutors are right about what happened in that Dallas studio, he lived up to it in the most consequential way possible. While others were in the room, Baby Slime was allegedly the one with the rifle on Gucci Mane. Not beside him, not behind him, on him, keeping him under duress while the paperwork got signed and the room got cleaned out. That is the crash dummy position. the most exposed, the most legally vulnerable, and the most dangerous place to be standing when the federal government decides to build a case. And here is what makes the financial piece of this story so significant, beyond the viral reaction it got online. When prosecutors recovered that text message mocking the crew for accepting $5,000 each on a $15 million catalog, what they really recovered was evidence of the payment structure for an alleged criminal conspiracy. In federal conspiracy law, money connecting participants to the operation is powerful. It establishes that the involvement was not accidental or incidental. It was expected, compensated, and organized. The fact that the payout was $5,000 does not diminish its legal weight. If anything, the smallness of the number makes the irony sharper and the consequences more severe. Baby Slime allegedly put himself at the most dangerous position in that room, rifle on Gucci Mane, for a $5,000 payout. And now he is looking at a potential life sentence. That contrast is not just a viral talking point. It is the central tragedy of how this whole operation played out for the people who answered that Michael Myers text. The charges Baby Slime and his co-defendants face reflect how seriously the federal government is treating this case. The indictment includes conspiracy to commit kidnapping, substantive kidnapping counts, and extortion with aiding and abetting liability. Because the operation crossed state lines from Memphis to Texas and involved firearms, the penalties under federal law are severe. The maximum potential sentence on federal kidnapping charges involving a firearm and resulting in injury can reach life in prison. That is the ceiling the government has put on this case. Where any individual defendant ultimately lands within that range depends on what is proven at trial and how the sentencing guidelines are applied. But there is no version of this indictment where the stakes are small. Baby Slime went from answering a Signal group chat in Memphis to facing the possibility of spending the rest of his life in federal custody. And everything in between has allegedly been documented, photographed, recorded, and preserved by the government. Now let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture of what this case represents, because it goes beyond Baby Slime and beyond Pooh Shiesty. This started as a contract dispute between a rapper and his label. That is not unusual in the music industry. Artists and labels clash over money and control all the time. The normal path is lawyers, negotiations, sometimes litigation. What allegedly happened here instead was a 9-man armed operation across state lines. A kidnapping, a robbery, and a forced contract signing at gunpoint inside a soundproof room. And the man prosecutors say was holding the AK-47 to keep everything under control is now 19 years old, documented in a gang indictment, sitting in federal detention without bond, and facing a maximum penalty of life in federal prison. That is the distance between what the group chat offered and what the federal government is now putting on the table. In a federal conspiracy case, the evidence rarely stands or falls on any single item. What makes this case particularly significant for Baby Slime is how many independent categories of evidence the government says point directly at him. A Signal group chat establishes the planning. His immediate response, documented in court filings with the word eagerness, establishes intent before the crew ever left Memphis. The travel from Memphis to Dallas establishes participation in the broader operation. The studio video allegedly places the weapon in his hands. 5 cooperating witnesses place him at the center of the room. The ski mask photo on his phone connects him to the gear used during the robbery. The Draco 4 grip photo connects him to the weapon type used. The Instagram Live with the illegal switch adds a standalone firearm charge. The trap house arrest adds state-level exposure. And the barricade during the federal arrest adds an argument for dangerousness that the judge already accepted at the bail hearing. That is not one thread. That is a woven case built from multiple independent sources that all converge on the same person. And prosecutors are going to present every single piece of it in front of a jury in the Northern District of Texas. The defense will have the opportunity to challenge each item individually, but the government's strategy is precisely to make the case bigger than any single challenge. When the video, the witnesses, the chat, the photos, the financial messages, and the post-crime conduct all point in the same direction. Dismantling one piece does not dismantle the rest. And then Gucci Mane did something that none of the people in that room could have anticipated when they flew to Dallas in January. He got back in the studio, he picked up a mic, and he made a song about it. The track is called Crash Dummy, and it dropped publicly after the arrests were made. In it, Gucci Mane addresses the alleged setup, the alleged betrayal, And the fact that despite everything that was done to force his hand in that Dallas room, Pooh Shiesty never actually got free from the 1017 deal in any legally meaningful way. A contract signed at gunpoint is not a valid contract termination. The government made that argument and the courts have not recognized it as one. The song is not legal evidence. It is an artistic response from a man who prosecutors say had his wedding ring taken off his finger and a weapon pointed at his face inside a studio he thought was a business meeting. And by calling it Crash Dummy, Gucci Mane put the exact label on Baby Slime that the internet had already been using. The guy who goes first takes the most risk and absorbs the worst consequences so that someone else does not have to. But the real kicker in all of this is the contrast between what answering that group chat message represented in the moment versus what it represents now. When the Michael Myers text landed in that Signal group chat, the ask seemed straightforward to the people receiving it. Come to Dallas, 6 certified, 2 drivers, pull up on WAP, help your associate handle some label business and collect your $5,000 on the way back home. That was apparently the calculation. What none of them allegedly accounted for was the surveillance footage inside a soundproof studio, the cooperating witnesses, the ski mask photos, the Instagram post with the stolen chain, the Draco foregrip pictures, the Instagram live with an illegal weapon modification, and the FBI tactical drone waiting for them months later. Every step after that group chat allegedly added a new piece of evidence, and every piece of evidence is now in a federal case file in the Northern District of Texas. Baby Slime is presumed innocent and has the right to contest every single piece of that evidence at trial. The defense will have real arguments to make about interpretation, identification, and what each item actually proves beyond a reasonable doubt. That process has not happened yet, and it matters. But the irony of where he now sits is impossible to separate from how it started. He allegedly volunteered to hold Gucci Mane at gunpoint to help Pooh Shiesty break free from a record label. And now, because of the footage recorded inside that very room on that very day, the federal government is using his own actions to make sure he does not get free from anything for a very long time. The Crash Dummy volunteered first, went first, and got caught first. The Crash caught him last, and the group chat that Pooh Shiesty sent out under the name Michael Myers may turn out to be exactly what buries the people who answered it. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure you tap in with the content on screen for more stories like this. 1.